Hello, and welcome to Aesop Grimm's Chronicles, where the emphasis is on immersion and storytelling. While some games contain mature themes or language, you can expect clean commentary from me as a narrator. Additionally, I will provide a content summary in the intro video for each chronicled series, so no one is blindsided or surprised. Let's play a story. Alright, welcome everybody. I am Aesop Grimm. Welcome to this channel. We're going to be looking at Endless Space 2. We're going to be playing through the tutorial. And so let's get to the ESRB rating. That's the primary purpose of these intro videos. Let's see. Peggy. I found a rating by Peggy. They rate it 7. That's actually a little bit ridiculous. No 7-year-old is going to like this game. It's too complex. But when it comes to content or mature content, it's saying that anybody 7 years old, they deem the content to be non-harmful, I suppose. They say the content of this game is suitable for persons aged 7 years and over only. It contains violence that is not shown but is implied. Okay, meanwhile, ESRB gives it a rating of everyone 10 plus. 10 plus years old for ESRB. And it says this is a strategy game in which players assume the role of a leader, guiding a civilization across galaxies. As players explore space, they set up trade routes, research technologies, and engage in military conflicts with alien civilizations. Battles are represented by graphs and hologram-like images of soldiers converging and shooting. Space battles depict ships shooting machine guns at each other with some explosions. Some cutscenes also depict shooting action, soldiers and creatures getting hit by missiles, buildings, and vehicles exploding. A handful of female characters wear outfits that reveal moderate amounts of cleavage. I haven't played the game enough to see multiple females with that. I do know that the Volter race is pretty busty and kind of show it off a little bit. Just like, I mean, you can take that last sentence at face value. It's accurate because the Volters do that. I'm just saying I've not played this game enough to see anybody else. So we'll see what happens as the game unfolds, but there you go. Let's see. The best review, in my opinion, this is my go-to place. It really has become my go-to place. It's all one word, commonsensemedia.org. commonsensemedia.org. And this review is written by Chad Sapieha. I probably butchered that name, but that's what it looks like to me. And he says it's rated age 12 plus. He gives it 4 out of 5 stars. Calls it deep galactic empire simulation that demands strategic thinking. And under the section What Parents Need to Know, which is the go-to section on this site, parents need to know that Endless Space 2 is a downloadable strategy game focused on galactic exploration and expansion, exploitation of resources, and extermination of rival factions. That's why it's called a 4X game. Exploration, expansion, exploitation, and extermination. He goes on to write, combat plays an essential role but involves no graphic violence. Players see ships shooting each other in space and simple holographic representations of tiny soldiers lining up on either side of a battlefield and shooting each other in ground wars, but with no blood, gore, or dead bodies. It involves alien species and planets, but mostly players will easily recognize the types of civil conflicts that take place as well as their triggers, including territorial disputes, economic upheaval, opposed ideologies, rapid technological advancement, and religious aggression. The game leaves moral judgment and strategies up to the player, providing various options and routes to victory, some decidedly more antagonistic than others. So there's your content briefing. This game is a direct competitor with Stellaris. And now we'll get into describing a little bit more about what the game is like and then what our plans are, or what my plan is on this tutorial, this attempt to play the tutorial. I'm going to unlock some trailers for you to see up in the top right corner. while I discuss that. So as I mentioned, direct competitor to Stellaris. Stellaris is a grand strategy game where, and what I've read that the difference is that in grand strategy, you do not necessarily have to abide by the 4X's. There are multiple ways to win, multiple ways to play. You can play small, you can be a little guy in the world if you want, whereas 4X really is about conquering. That's how I've heard it explained before. I am not a 4X expert, so I have to rely on other people's opinions there. But what they share is that it's like the gears in a clock. Little gears turn medium-sized gears feed into larger gears, and larger gears feed into huge gears. And what you do at the base level and early in the game can have dramatic effects on the final output at the big gear level and in the end game. So that's a similarity there. What does Stellaris do better? Well, its mechanics are probably deeper, but take that with a grain of salt. I'm not really experienced with Endless Space 2. Stellaris does real-time strategy a little better, like your battle fleets. When you get into a fight with a opposing enemy, that's going to happen in real time, and you're controlling your fleets, and you can zoom in and get some really truly cinematic. There we go. Like, what is that word? You can get some really cinematic views out of that. You can see the various models of your ships, whether they're cruisers or battleships or Titans. You're not going to really get that too much with Endless Space 2. What it does is it has you make some decisions based on how you chose to develop your ships, build them, and then you choose tactics based on that. And this is the second video I have for you to watch. This will show you some gameplay. And then whenever you choose your tactics and you basically click the go button, it's going to play you a cinematic that they do all the math in the background and determine whether you won or lost. And they show you your fleet and the opposing fleet exchanging firepower. It's all pretty. You have a number of cutscenes for all the different kinds of tactical combinations you can have, I guess, but it gets pretty mundane pretty quick, and most people that have played this game for a while will just blow right by that. They skip the cinematic because it gets boring, right? It's mundane. So in that area, Stellaris is probably better. But what does Endless Space 2 do better? Well, it might sound superficial, but if you look at the picture that we're looking at here, and you think of Stellaris events and the art that they use, Endless Space 2 annihilates that, in my opinion. And this is probably very subjective opinion, but their artistic vision to display pictures that capture the feel of the event that they're transmitting to you does a much better job of immersing you into the story, in my opinion. And they're just jaw-droppingly beautiful. Not only are they really nice conceptually speaking, but the vibrancy of the colors, the color gradient, it's all just very eye-popping to me, and you see that throughout the game. The artistry in the game is phenomenal, I think. Amplitude Studios is just fantastic in this area, and I just don't think that there's even any comparison with Stellaris on that. It's Endless Space 2, hands down. And Endless Space 2 also adds role-playing elements where you can decide how you're going to level a hero up and what kind of path they're going to go down or what tree that they're going to go down. You don't get any of that with Stellaris. So the RPG elements are nice, and then all of that this is all revolving around story, immersion. And that's the third element, is storytelling. The surrounding events, the script, the voice acting, all of that in Endless Space 2, there's a lot more guidance and surrounding context to really frame the various events that are happening to your empire and the choices that you're having to make. And they do a fantastic job of drawing you into a story. Now, I guess the downside of that is that it's more scripted, although you still have choice. You still have choice you have to make, but it is more scripted, where Paradox games tend to be a little bit more sandbox. But here's the best way that I've thought of to explain this. With Paradox, it's the actual gameplay you're doing over a long period of time that tends to build the story. And that changes every time you play the game. It's the rivalries you develop, the history of your family if you're playing a game like Crusader Kings 2, or the direction of your empire in Stellaris, where you've made moral decisions like whether or not you're going to become robots, and how does that impact your policies towards robots, or what does that do to people who are of more of a religious persuasion and find that to be anathema in your empire. Your story unfolds through the gameplay that you're doing. With Endless Space 2, they give you a whole lot more surrounding context and surrounding narrative, but boy, it's terrific. And you're not having to fill in the blanks as much on your own. They're doing a really good job of filling those blanks in for you. So I have to say, and this is probably dependent on how good of an imagination you have, but for me, Endless Space 2 tells a better story because they do provide a lot more of a helping hand with that. The artistry is drawing you in tightly. The voice acting is phenomenal. And it really helps put you in the shoes of the empire that you're playing. And that's probably the last thing I'll bring up there, is that I have heard Endless Space 2 fans say that a lot of 4X games they play, you can have a whole bunch of different races to play, different empires, different aliens, but that a lot of times they end up feeling very same. And it's because really you only have 3 or 4 archetypes. But in Endless Space 2, the mechanics, the style, the imagery, they're truly different. They're radically different in all these different races that you have in this game. I think I have all of the DLC. So that gives a lot of replayability. So the last thing I'll say, I'll wrap it up with this. Amplitude Studios has a whole world revolving around the Endless. Okay, so there's multiple Endless games out there. And from what I understand, the Endless are this super archaic alien race that ran kind of the whole galaxy. They had presence all over the universe, but they died out. And they died out millennia ago. And all that's left of them is this dust. And dust becomes like a currency in this game, and or in those Endless games. And when you learn how to play Endless Legend, for example, there are many shared mechanics that cross over to Endless Space. And because of that crossover appeal, if you wind up liking this game, if you wind up liking this playthrough I do, it appeals to you. Amplitude Studios just recently released another game called Humankind. Now, their other Endless game, Endless Legend, it's like a civilization game. It plays like a civilization game, and I've heard a few people say it's the best 4X game on the market. Well, Humankind is new. It was released just like a month ago, or maybe 2 months. It's been in early development for a while, but I think it was officially released here very recently. And it's taking everything that they've learned from their Endless games and incorporating it into a modern title. And like I said, if you end up liking this game and its style, you may want to take a look at Humankind. I think it looks very interesting. They seem to apply a little bit different artistry I just think the Endless Space 2 artistry is jaw-dropping. It's probably more in line with the Endless Legend artistry, which is a little bit more, I don't know, maybe oil painting style. But it's still nice. It's good. It's good artistry. And it plays like a Civilization game also, with the hexagons and all that. So anyway, there you go. That's just kind of FYI. But we'll wrap it up with that. Again, I am Aesop Grimm. Thank you for coming by this channel and giving it a shot. I hope you like what you saw. I hope all is well in your neck of the woods. And I will see you in the next episode where this story continues. Nope, where this story begins. Thanks for visiting Aesop Grimm's Chronicles. If you've made it this far in the video, please consider rating, commenting, subscribing, and sharing. I hope to see you in the next episode, and until then, stay shiny.